Hi, everyone. Welcome to Rally by Broadcom product demonstration. So today, as part of our ValueOps product solutions demonstration series, we'll be looking at Rally. I am Balaji Raghuttaman. I'm a co-founder and CEO at Albatroz Solutions. We are a tier one partner of Broadcom for Agile Operations Division, focused on India region. We're also an expert advantage partner focused on providing consulting and managed services for Broadcom solutions globally. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce the guest speaker today. We have James Tay. He's a domain specialist of ValueOps Solutions from Broadcom. He's based in Sydney, Australia, and he has tremendous amount of work experience in delivering, a value of solutions, including Clarity, Rally, and Connect All to customers in this region. So, welcome, James, and thank you for your time in helping us with the demo today of Rally. Uh, so, without further ado, James, I would hand over the floor to you for the Rally product demonstration.
Okay, yep. Thank you, Balaji, for those kind words. And that introduction. Let me just start by sharing my screen, and then you should be able to see the Rally login window. Okay. All right.
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, thank you, Balaji, for confirming. Okay, so Rally is Broadcom's agile work management solution. So if you want to run your initiatives in an agile Kanban type methodology, right? Especially in terms of supporting a scaled agile framework, SAFe, for example, right? Then Rally is the go-to agile work management solution out there in the market today, right? Now, I always start with the login screen for my product demonstrations, and this is where I talk about the underlying infrastructure. So Rally, like many ValueOps solutions, is both offered on-premise as well as on the cloud, right? So depending on how you want to consume the software, whether you want to host it on your own hardware or your own private cloud, right, and deploy it there, or whether you want us as Broadcom to host the solution, then you can pick and choose what's best suited for your particular IT strategy. So today, and I also like to say, you see a login screen here, but Rally is of course also SSO enabled, right? So for our end users all over the world, when they log in and when they hit the URL here, right? Being a web-based application, they hit the URL with their browser, right? With single sign-on enabled, we integrate with your identity management solution so that then they don't even see this login screen, right? They hit the URL and they are immediately authenticated and brought into the solution. So let's do that right now and bring you into the solution. So I'm going to log in here with my login details. Okay. All right. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to when it comes to Rally is really trying to set the scene and go through the foundations of our Rally data model. All right, so what do I mean by that? So first of all, Rally is able to, I'm just going to show you by expanding these different items here in our kind of like an organizational breakdown, right? So Rally is able to build within itself an organizational hierarchy that you can see on the screen here, right? So you can start off with your organization, break it down into value streams, and these value streams have multiple products or applications within them. And then underneath each of these applications could have multiple release trains. And of course, underneath each release train, there'll be a multitude of teams supporting that release train. That's a typical scaled agile framework that can be supported by Rally. Now, of course, if you wish to chop and change, if you want to call it, instead of a value stream, you want to call it a domain. Instead of an art, you might call it a product, a release, right? That is all able to be configured as well. Now, why I like to highlight this particular part of the product is because This hierarchy enables us, or enables Rally to do a roll-up of data. Right, so if I've got data at the very lowest team level, I can then roll it up all the way to the agile release train level, right? And then roll it up to the application or product level, and then roll that up to the value stream level, and then so all the way up to the very top of the organization. Right. So then by doing so, I establish kind of what I like to call the golden thread, right? From the very top, I can track the work all the way down to what my team, from the strategic level, down to the product level, all the way down to my team level, and see what individuals are working on. Right? I can zoom in all the way into a specific individual's, I won't even say user stories, but tasks on the user stories. And I'll go through the breakdown of that work structure right after this. But yes, it gives me laser focus into a specific area if I so wish. Right? Many of our competitors and solutions out there, they just work at the, for example, at the team level or at the release train level, nothing further up. Right? So and then they could be disparate as well. There's nothing sort of tying all those release trains together to give you an organizational wide view of the things that you're working on for your DevOps arms, for example. Right. So this is an organizational breakdown that Rally offers for roll-up, and also another byproduct of this organizational roll-up is also security. Right. So based on this organizational breakdown, I can then secure items away from one another. So for example, if I've got a team in the retail banking value stream, which I'm just highlighting here, right? But if I've got a team in there or an individual in there, that individual may not be able to see data in the business bank engagement value stream. Right? So that's why we have these kinds of organizational hierarchies in our solution to do security and to do roll-up. Okay. I'll just close that. Now that's the organization, right, being broken down. What about the work itself? Well, Rally also establishes a hierarchy for the work, right? It's not just about your people and your teams, it's also about the work. So for example here, we're starting off at the strategic level, right? So these are maybe core strategies of my organization, digital banking and monetary transfers. And then I can break that down into different epics, right? So these are the core initiatives, if you call that epics, that our teams are working on. And then I can break that down further into my features right here, and then also into, I'll just show you here, into my features, and then further down into user stories. Right, so I'm going to actually go down here. Scroll down here. Okay, just showing you, here's where we can break down the features to different user stories. Now, one thing you will note as I expanded all these items here is I've got the capability on the right-hand side here to see some roll-up data. Right, so not only is the work being established in terms of a hierarchy, I can leverage that hierarchy to do roll-up reporting. So for example, feature 52 here says 100%. I can see that it's made up of these two user stories, and that's complete. Right? Epic 3, 6% completed, and that's because here I can see feature 16 is about 27% completed. So what Rally does is it sums up all the user story points, right? And then at the epic level, at the feature level, and then as you complete them, or as the teams complete them, they move the progress bar closer and closer to 100%. So even from this view, from this hierarchical breakdown view, I've got the capability to see the progress of different epics and different features. Okay. Now, I'm going to drill down into a user story now, right? So for example, I can click this and go into a user story. So this is where a user story, a team member can complete a user story with descriptions, with They can also put in test cases, and that can integrate with your test management platform, right? And then run the actual test and then bring the data back into Clarity, right? So through these test cases and test run functions, right, I can even automate the testing or schedule the testing and then bring the results back into Clarity, or back into Rally, I should say, to update the statuses. Get out of that. And I can do this at the feature level as well. So each of these items, epics and features, they all have a form-like screen where you can complete the data and track things such as risks as well. And you can see here, because I'm at the feature level, I can then drill down and see what are my child user stories. Okay. Now, why I like to highlight this part of Rally is because it really is the backbone, the data backbone of Rally, right? It enables us to do roll-up reporting. It gives us the capability to see what's happening throughout my entire organization. And again, like I talked about, establishing that golden thread, right? From the strategic level down to the epic level, down to the feature level, down to the user story level, right? All the way down to where the work is actually being done. Now, speaking of where the work's actually being done, right, let's zoom in into where most of the work actually moves, right? So this is a kind of a hierarchical view, great for doing some analysis and tracking the progress, but when it comes to actually moving promoting items, promoting user stories and features, right, we, of course, deal with a Kanban view. Okay, so let me just do that. So what I'll do is I'm just going to focus in on my digital banking release train, and let's look at the Kanban for that. So you can see here, this is the Kanban for the digital banking agile release train. Right? So I've got different features in different states, in different columns. Now, of course, these columns can be configured, modified to suit your organization's requirements, right? Out of the box, we just follow the safe headings, right? So funnel, analyzing, backlog, preparing, implementing, and of course, I can click and drag and move these items around, right, and promote them, move these cards around. What Rally also offers is some governance with moving the items around. So if I move a feature from, let's say, funnel to analyzing, I could have rules around it that prevent me from moving an item or promoting an item unless certain fields are completed. So it just establishes that level of governance and security that I'm not just moving items, right, that aren't really ready to be moved just yet. So what I can now do is actually move down into, for example, the team level, right, and see their Kanban board, right? So these are this is the security team's features that they're working on. Previously, it was the agile release train at the very top. Now I'm just looking at the security team's Kanban board in particular. So again, I'm navigating that hierarchy that I talked about to just focus on the work that our teams are working on. In this case, the security team. Okay. Now, this assumes that we are already in flight, in execution, right? So these are the features that my security team are currently working on. All well and good. But of course, following an agile methodology, right, there needs to be some kind of planning exercises done before we even get to execution. How does Rally support that, right? I'm talking ceremonies such as big room planning, right? How does Rally support big room planning for resource capacity management to make sure my agile teams, right, to make sure my teams are not only working on the right things, but also ensuring that they've got the right capacity to do complete those particular features. And for that, we have Rally's capacity planning feature. Now, capacity planning is usually done at the very top. So we zoom back out to the value stream level and we look at our plan, a capacity plan for December 2024. Right. Okay. So you can see I'm midway through planning this, right? I've got, these are the teams that I'm planning for, the API team, architecture team, these 5 teams here. And you can see I've already started to consume some of their capacity with certain features, right? And these could be in flight, in progress as well. So this kind of, the bar, as I fill up the bar, right, I'm taking up their capacity. And you can see here what the percentage complete is, what's the estimated story points that they are currently on track to do. I've also got these little red alert indicators that tell me that I should look at something. I can drill down into here and track, okay, what's going wrong? Why is this capacity plan telling me that this feature requires my attention? Well, I can then track that, move in and see, oh, the roll-up exceeds the estimated, right? So this means that even though the feature was estimated, for example, at 100 points, the roll-up of the user stories underneath it, right, was actually a total of, let's say, 150 points. So Rowley's really good at calling out these kinds of discrepancies in our estimations. So then I can go in, either increase the estimate of the feature, right, and change this to 85 to match the roll-up figure, or I can leave it and then decrease the number of or reassess my user stories. Okay. Now let's actually, especially for our mobile security teams, you can see here they're only doing one feature. They've got plenty of capacity. Let's start assigning them some work. And to do that, I go into the feature breakdown here. Right, and you can see here are all the features that are currently in my release train. Some of them have been assigned. You can see here, right? Some have been assigned to my teams here, and there are also unassigned items. On the right-hand side here, you can see the current project capacity. Like I said, I've already started to fill out this plan, this capacity plan, but I'm only halfway there, and my mobile and security teams are able to take on more work. So how do I know which of these items I should do? So what the capacity plan allows me to do is I can add in ranks, or I can use, for example, here, I'm just going to show a field. I can add in a ranking mechanism that all Agile practitioners should be familiar with, the WSJF score, right? Weighted shortest job first. So I can then do something like sort by the WSJF score, right? So these are my highest priority items, and I can see, okay, these are the items that are yet to be assigned, right? So I can then assign these to my mobile and security teams here. I do that. Give this work to my team. And you can see here, by assigning this feature here, feature 22 to my security team, right, I have now exceeded my capacity, right? So maybe the security team cannot do this particular thing. I'll unassign that. And then I will maybe give them, let's just try this one. Give them something smaller, right? So this one remains on the backlog because we don't have the capacity to do it. So I can go back to once I've done the assignment of my features to my teams, I can go back to here and then reassess what the new project plan is. Okay. So that's how we do, and that's how this supports big room planning, right? By assigning the teams to the features, or the features to the teams, right, prior to big room planning. So then when I actually run big room planning, I can then present this on a screen, right, which many of our customers do, and then they will assess this as part of their big room planning. They'll vote on the confidence of it, right, through the ceremony, something like the Fist of Five ceremony, And then that is the plan that we will move forward into the next release, into the next quarter, for example. Okay. Now, I can also, once I do all this assigning to my teams, I can have some reports here and dashboards that showcase, what's my split, what features am I working that drive towards particular strategies, for example, right? So you can see here I'm working on 6% on maintenance, 37% on growth, 28% on cost savings. Right, so these kinds of dashboards just ensure that as I'm planning my next release, I'm still hitting on the right strategic markers for my organization. Okay. So now let's fast forward. Big room planning's over. The teams have their features. They know what the features they're working on. Now they're going to take the features and then break it down into user stories and plan them across the next 5 or 6 sprints, for example. And to do that next level, that level down of planning, right, we go to team planning. All right. So now, once I hit that, I'm now going to zoom in onto a particular team. So let me go to the core team here, right? Here, and then you can see in this core team here, this is where I've broken down the feature or the user stories within the features. Right. Actually, let's fast forward to the next release. Okay, here we go. So here we've filled out quarter two. Quarter two, sprint 2 is exceeding the limit here. So let's move some of these items to sprint 3. All right. Let's do that. Okay, there we go. So we've solved that capacity issue in sprint 3. These are the items on the left on the backlog. I can move them into the sprints as well. Right, so this backlog on the right, on the left-hand side that I am dragging from, again, these user stories come from the features that I assigned during the big room planning phase. Right. That's go, yeah, go. All right. So this is how the teams then plan out their 4 sprints, right? By taking the user stories, dragging them over into the different sprints, and basically allocating that's the time frame that particular user story or defect, as you can see here, will be completed. And this is done, of course, across all the teams. So throughout my core team, my mobile team, and my security team, they'll all be doing this exercise to support the release train. Now, as the release train engineer, I now need a view of all the team's work in one dashboard, right? If all the teams are now doing all their user story planning, right? As the release train engineer, I need that higher level view and assess whether I'll be on track for this release. And to do that, I use the release tracking dashboard here. So let me go back to quarter 2. Yep. So this particular. Now, actually, I'll go back one more because I want to highlight some other items. Okay. So you can see here, as the release train engineer, I've got my different teams as the swim lanes, right? And then on the top columns here, I've got the sprint. So essentially like a timeline. And then from that, I can break down and see, okay, what features are being worked on in each sprint, right? And I can click into that particular feature and then check, okay, which user stories for that particular feature are being worked on. Again, I've got that golden thread. I can, as a release train engineer, I can drill down from the feature level down into the user stories and see what my teams are working on. let me go to the next sprint here. Oh, sorry, the next release, because I actually wanted to highlight this. So this little icon here shows dependencies, right? So if I've got a feature that depends on another feature, right? Again, Rally will be able to call that out so that I avoid having mismatches in terms of timeline delivery. I can ensure that my predecessors are being done in the earlier sprints compared to my successors. Right. So dependency call out, progress tracking. You can see all these bars here. Drill down into each of the features and what's being worked on, as well as the split of both time across the sprints, the 4 sprints, as well as by team. So by assessing this particular release tracking dashboard, me as the release train engineer, I've got the confidence that my release or the upcoming release is being progressed towards. And if it's not, well, that's okay too, because then it gives me the evidence to then escalate and have some conversations about, okay, why are we not tracking, right? Was it because of poor planning, poor capacity planning at the start, like we took on too much, right? Or is it because of external factors, risks? Is it because of defects that we had to, an unanticipated amount of defects that we had to fix? But again, having this release train dashboard here gives me the capability of finding out why we are either on track or not on track as a particular release or in my particular product or application. Now, Rally also gives other kinds of views, which I'm going to quickly go through here. Timeline views. So again, for our end users that are more visual, right? They like to see things on a timeline. You could call it a Gantt-like view. You can see here the features being put onto a timeline, right? And also the milestones as well for each of my applications. Because like it or not, we do have milestones within agile releases, because there's always a deadline for a feature or for a version to be released out into our customers for them to use, right? So we always have milestones. It's all a matter of how many features can we squeeze in based on our capacity plan before this milestone is hit. So this timeline view, you can see here, there's like little dotted lines, shadows, right, indicating what is the progress, and also, because I'm late on a certain item, right, what is the anticipated end date of this feature. In terms of summarizing all this data, we've also got a range of dashboards that Rally offers, right? So here, I'm just going to click into the dashboard here. I'm going to actually zoom up to my value stream level here. Just wait for the data to load. Here we go. All right. So at the value stream level, as a value stream lead, I've got the capability to view these dashboards, again, track the data, drill down into the data, into the feature level, user story level, if I so wish, right? Track my velocity. Again, these are very key agile metrics that will drive conversations within my organization, right? How's my velocity? Am I tracking? Am I releasing fast enough, right? My burn up and burn down charts, right? Am I planning properly so that my burn up and burn down charts are actually meeting the expectations at the end of the sprint, right? I'm not consuming too much capacity. Alignment of my features that I'm rolling out in my epics, right? Am I actually completing features that are driving towards a higher strategic objective? And also items such as a roam board, right? So if I want to track my risks at the value stream level, I can then use a Kanban-like board. You can see here the roam board to track risks, resolve them, make sure that things are owned and things are mitigated eventually. And finally, Rally also offers some of these reports that can be output, PDF output, printed output for offline tracking as well. So if you need this data for a individual or end user that doesn't have access to Rally, right, you can always generate these reports, PDF them, and then send them out, of course, through email. So that about brings us to the end of this short product demonstration today, right? So I'll just recap some of the things that we've talked about today. Rally's capability to not only establish a work hierarchy, but also an organizational hierarchy for the purposes of security as well as roll-up of data. Again, I always talk about this, the golden thread from the very top strategic level down to the epic feature user story level. I've got portfolio Kanban to ensure that at the teams level and at the release train level, I am tracking my features, right? I'm making sure that I'm progressing my features through a governed process because of different rules that I have established on the Kanban board. I have capacity planning to make sure to support my big room planning practices to ensure that all my work is being planned for, that I've got the right amount of resources, and then also that I'm doing the best or I'm doing the most highest priority features in my organization based on metrics such as weighted shortest job first, WSJF, right? Once I've done that, the plan will be publicized, right, and sent down to the teams to plan out their work through team planning, right? This is where we do the breakdown of features down into user stories and into the different sprints. And finally, as a release train engineer, the ability to track how I'm going across my entire organization, right, for my different teams, and whether my release is on track or not. So with that, Balaji, I'll just pass it on to you for any closing statements.
Thank you so much, James, for the demo and also summarizing the whole thing. I was going to do that. If I may ask a question, which might add, some inputs for information for the audience. So how does Rally work together with other ValueOps solutions from Broadcom?
Right. So when we when we started off with the strategic and epic level, right, we kind of assumed that these had already been set by the organization. But how are they set? And this is where Rally's sister product, Clarity, comes into play. Clarity has the capability to build out the epic roadmap, right? Strategic and epic roadmap in its own solution, and then through a native Clarity to Rally integration, it will be able to pass down these epic items into Rally, so that then the epics, once the agile teams have the epics, they'll be able to break it down into the features that you see here. So that first two top levels that I've highlighted here, they can be established, prioritized, right, in our sister tool Clarity through roadmap functions, through planning functions. But then once it's been established, once that roadmap has been established, right, that can then be integrated, passed through our integration into Rally to break down into features.
Great. Yeah, I think that explains, how Rally or the ValueOps solutions from Broadcom, stands out with, other, solutions in the market where, you're able to integrate this agile planning tool along with the strategic portfolio management tool like Clarity, and, you have the end-to-end solutions for value stream management, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
great. Great. Once again, I'll probably present to my screen for a moment.
Yep.
So thank you, James. So this is wonderful session again, and we'll continue this, kind of value of solutions from Broadcom demo series with, other products as well. whatever new releases that might be up from Broadcom on these solutions as well. We'll try to cover that. Hope this is useful for everybody. And if there is any questions that you might have, or you want a further engagement with us at Albatroz or Broadcom to get to know more about Rally and how it can help your organizations, please do reach out to us on this email ID and phone numbers that are listed there. So we're happy to help. Thank you once again, James. Appreciate it and have a nice day.